And good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Randy Neal is off today. Our top story, it has been in the news for over 6 years, and now after a number of delays, the trial centered around the so-called sale of BC Rail is finally in court. Tanya Beja has more.
Years after his Victoria office was raided by the RCMP, Dave Basse is finally heading to court.
Mr. Basse, any thoughts as you're way in, as you go on your way in?
You know, John, it's been 7 long years of fighting. I'm looking forward to my day in court.
Is it a relief, Dave?
I think we have to move on. We have to move on to...
It's been 7 long years.
Basse and former co-worker Bob Verk are headed for what will likely be one of the most dramatic corruption trials this province has ever seen. The two are charged with fraud, breach of trust, and accepting bribes. Basse's cousin Anil Basse also faces money laundering charges. The case stems back to 2003 when police entered the BC legislature and searched the offices of Basse and Verk before carting away several boxes of secret documents. The two were accused of leaking information to a prospective bidder concerning the $1 billion sale of BC Rail. At the time, Basse and Verk were ministerial aides to former Finance Minister Gary Collins and former Transportation Minister Judith Reid. Both are expected to testify, along with more than 36 corporate insiders and top bureaucrats. The NDP says their testimony will bring British Columbians answers they've been waiting for.
The accused will get their opportunity at long last to prove their innocence. The Crown will get an opportunity to try and prove they're guilty. But from my perspective, British Columbians will finally get the real story behind the sale of their railway.
That sale left a black mark on the Liberal government, a government that's now losing popularity in the polls. The trial will shed light on who knew what about the privatization of BC Rail. So far, all 3 accused in the case have pleaded not guilty. Now, a jury will hear their case in a trial that's expected to last 6 weeks.
So what should we expect from this trial, and what, if anything, does this mean for Gordon Campbell and the Liberals? Our Legislative Bureau Chief Keith Baldry joins us now. Keith, so what are we expecting out of this trial?
Well, first of all, you heard Leonard Krogh talk about getting answers about the sale of BC Rail. Right from the beginning of this process, Steve, there was a suspicion, certainly within government, outside government, that the bidding process for BC Rail was somehow rigged in favor of CN. Wasn't a completely flawless process. So we're going to get some answers, hopefully, some information surrounding that deal. Was it rigged, or was it a legitimate process? The other thing we're going to hear about, and this is as a result of emails, documents, and wiretaps. They tapped Dave Basse's cell phone. You get a behind-the-scenes glimpse of how government actually operates, sort of the unknown side of the relationships between caucus members and political staff, the Premier's office and the caucus, political staff and the media, for example, and lobbyists as well. So that so-called dark underside of government is going to be exposed, put out in the light for the public to see. And finally, Steve, probably some internal tensions that existed in the Liberal government way back when this deal was first hatched are going to be exposed as well as a result of those wiretaps and as a result of those documents and emails. There's a massive amount of evidence in this case, and it's going to take a long time to go through it.
Now, what does this mean, as we mentioned, for Gordon Campbell and the Liberals? It's been pretty tough to be in his government over the last few months.
Hard to see how they become even more unpopular than they are now. I mean, the HST and related issues have punted the Liberals into orbit in a way that a lot of people think there is no recovery for them. So if there hadn't been that controversy to the HST and the likes, and the government was still ahead of the NDP in the polls, this trial, I think, would be very problematic for them. But coming as it is now, early in the government's mandate, that's a good thing for them. The election is 3 years from now. But the damage this trial will inflict on the government, and there will be damage, I don't think necessarily make it any more unpopular than it is now. The electorate right now seems to have made up its mind in a way that it hasn't for some time, that the Liberals, as they are now, are unelectable, and this case is just going to simply make those feelings out there harden that much more.
All right, Keith, thanks very much. I know you'll have more for us on later broadcasts. Thanks.